Okay, so this is the Honor 400 Lite. And when I first saw the spec sheet, I almost had to do a double take. 6.7-inch AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, 108 megapixel main camera, and up to 12 gigs of RAM, all on a phone with Lite in the name. So naturally, I had to daily drive this phone for a little while to really get a sense of what you get for that low £250 asking price. So let's take a look. So inside the box, you get the phone itself, a USB-C cable, a SIM tool, and depending on where you buy it, maybe a basic silicone case. No charger included, which for some will still be a little bit annoying, but for me, it's not too much of an issue. And first impressions though, not bad at all. It weighs just 171 grams, it's just 7.2 millimeters thick, and although of course it is a budget phone, it doesn't feel too budget in the hand. The finish on the back of the phone doesn't scream budget, and the design touches do go a long way here. So let's talk about this display. It's a 6.7-inch AMOLED panel with 120Hz refresh rate, and I have to say, it's one of the nicest screens I've used in a phone at this price. Resolution is 1080 by 2412, which means everything looks crisp, text is clean, and colors really pop. Brightness is good enough outdoors with a maximum brightness of 3500 nits, and for content like Netflix or YouTube, the blacks are inky, contrast is great, and just a genuinely nice screen to look at. And of course that 120Hz refresh rate really does help just to make the overall experience using the display a lot more pleasant. Of course, it being an AMOLED display, everything just looks pin sharp all the time. It's a really nice display. Now, performance on these budget phones is certainly an area where I think a lot of people have their reservations on how well they'll perform. But I'm happy to report that the Honor 400 Lite has performed absolutely fine in my everyday use when I've been using this as my daily phone. It comes packing a MediaTek Dimensity 7025 Ultra processor, which is the same chip found on the new Poco M7 Pro 5G and the Motorola G55. Now, scrolling through social media, opening apps, YouTube, Spotify, emails, it all runs really well. I have the 8 gig model, but there is of course a 12 gig model as well, and they both come with 256 gigs of storage, and you're really not going to run into any bottlenecks in everyday use. Casual gaming like a bit of Call of Duty or PUBG will run really well on medium settings. It's not built for high performance gaming, but it holds up surprisingly well considering the price. And to be honest, that's the vibe throughout this phone. It's smooth, it's stable, and I think that's going to be the most valuable thing for most people, having something that's dependable performance. Yeah, the 400 Lite nails it. So let's just quickly talk about the cameras on the Honor 400 Lite, and at least spec-wise, it's kind of a lopsided affair. So the main camera is a 108 megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture. Awesome, really great. But the secondary camera, unfortunately, is still Honor's signature 5 megapixel ultra wide, tiny sensor, really narrow f2.2 aperture. So of course, photo quality wise, you don't get the same quality as the main cameras traditionally anyway, but that low resolution 5 megapixel camera, unsurprisingly, produces inferior photos. Of course, in daylight, in good daylight, you get some nice photos. And I do actually think that Honor have improved, at least in my opinion, the processing from that ultra wide camera. They don't seem to be as bad as what I remember them being on things like the, Honor X7B or whatever. They seem to be a little bit better. Now, coming from that 108 megapixel main camera, again, you're going to struggle in trickier scenarios like lower light photos and stuff like that. But in good daylight, they actually produce some really nice photos. Colors can be a little bit oversaturated for some people's tastes. I personally do quite like it. But yeah, you get some really nice photos from that main camera, and in really good conditions, you get some nice photos from that ultra wide. But of course, photo quality is the most subjective part of any review. You can of course disagree with me. I won't hold it against you. Let me know down in the comments. And if you're enjoying this video so far, a sub to the channel would be amazing. A like on this video would really help out the channel. But yeah, overall, photo quality from the Honor 400 Lite I'm pretty impressed with. And then for that selfie camera, you get a 16 megapixel selfie camera. And for those that care about aperture on a selfie camera, it's f2.5. Whatever. But yeah, overall photos from the selfie camera on here, again, they're not bad. You get a good amount of detail. And again, in lower light situations, blah, 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 same story, quality drops, etc. But yeah, for most people's snaps, the selfie camera is absolutely fine. Portrait mode does a good job with separation. Yeah, just a typical budget quality selfie camera, not too bad. And then video tops out at 1080p 30 from both the main and the rear cameras. And again, just your standard budget phone video quality. It's nothing spectacular, but again, let me know down in the comments what you think. Overall, as a budget phone camera package, I think the Honor 400 Lite does a pretty good job here. Oh, and you also get Apple's camera control style button on the side of the Honor 400 Lite. That just gives you a little bit of flexibility when it comes to zooming in your photos. You can half press to focus and then take the picture. It's not quite as intuitive as Apple's camera control on the iPhones, but it's a good start. Certainly shows that things like this don't need to be relegated to just premium phones. It can be brought down into cheaper phones as well, albeit not quite as well, but it certainly shows that you can do it. Now, battery life on the Honor 400 Lite. Now, this is an area where it actually gets really, really good in one area and then sort of typically mediocre in another. Pack in a 5230 milliamp hour battery, and with MagicOS and the chip being pretty power efficient, you can easily get a full day of pretty intense use from this phone. So that's the really great bit. But the mediocre bit, unsurprisingly, is the charging speeds. It's capped at just 35 watts. Not the fastest on the market, although faster than certain Samsung phones, might I add. But yeah, overall, not the fastest charging, but it will get you charged up relatively quickly. But the battery life itself is absolutely awesome. And now we get onto an area, again, a bit like the camera, that's a very subjective part of your phone experience as well, and that is the software. So of course, the Honor 400 Lite is running MagicOS. Personally, for me, it's actually one of my favorite software skins, as well as just bog standard stock Android and Samsung's One UI. Overall, I really like MagicOS. There's not really many issues that I've personally found with it. But the Honor 400 Lite is running MagicOS 9.0 on top of Android 15. And to be honest, Honor's software has actually come a long way. It seems cleaner, it seems smoother, and it doesn't feel like it's fighting against Android anymore. And of course, there's still some pre-installed apps, but nothing too bad. Samsung do exactly the same with a few of their own apps as well. And you've got gesture support, dark mode, and all the standard features that you'd expect in 2025. And there's certainly no bugs or any lag or anything like that. You can't say the same for all budget phones. Some of them do stutter and lag, potentially software or just general performance related, but you don't find this with the Honor 400 Lite. I haven't had any stuttering issues whatsoever on this phone. Yeah, I cannot complain. The only way someone might complain is if they just don't like MagicOS and you just wouldn't buy an Honor phone. Oh, and also, very exciting, on the Honor 400 series, including the Honor 400 Lite, you actually get 6 years of major OS updates and security patches as well. So that's a really good step in the right direction for Honor, especially introducing it also to the Honor 400 Lite, as well as the two more expensive models. So you get some nice software updates with the Honor 400 Lite. So on a 250 quid phone, that's pretty good. And then a few other bits that you get on the Honor 400 Lite. Of course, you get full 5G support, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.3. It's a dual SIM phone and with support for eSIM as well. So overall, you get a really great package on this Honor 400 Lite. Okay, so let's wrap up this review and just summarize what you get and what you don't get when you're picking the Honor 400 Lite. So for a start, you get a really nice 6.7-inch AMOLED display with 120 Hz refresh rate. You get fantastic battery life. You get 108 megapixel main camera, and you get really smooth everyday performance. Now, of course, when buying any budget phone, you will naturally get trade-offs. And in the case with the Honor 400 Lite, you get no 4K video recording. You get no stereo speakers, You get an IP65 water and dust protection, so that's against low pressure water jets. So there's not IP67 or IP68, but again, that's not really surprising. No charger in the box, but of course that's not limited to just this phone. So overall, I think the Honor 400 Lite is actually a really great phone and I've really enjoyed using it. Those trade-offs personally for me, they're not a deal breaker. I don't spend ages watching stuff on YouTube that would benefit from having stereo speakers. And if I do, I just connect some headphones and that solves that problem. That main camera has been good enough for me. The ultra wide, again, typically is not the best, but it will do in bright conditions. And the battery life is fantastic. So let me know if this is a phone that you would consider buying. It's got Lite in the name, but it's certainly not light on features. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with my review of this Honor 400 Lite. Drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more. And I'll catch you in the next one.